All right, welcome. I'm diving into a series that, because I was not feeling super creative, calling, let me make this a gallery view so you see both of us, sustainable peak performance. I've had it in my back pocket for years, something I thought about building. And then I met this gentleman that is with us today, Dr. Jeff Spencer. And Jeff came to an event of ours. And the more I learned about his background, the more I realized that the thing I wanted to build was already built. And Dr. Jeff Spencer here is my corner man. So if I have a big projects, big goals, things that I aspire to, and I want to make sure that I am taking the most efficient path forward and not blowing myself up, it is Dr. Jeff Spencer that I text, call, speak to. And we're going to talk today about a little bit mindset stuff. It's kind of a buzzword people throw around, mindset, and more specifically the difference between a human and the champion mindset. And I'm going to let Jeff really dig into that, but I want to take a moment to introduce Jeff, who was had a big hand in 8 or 9 Tour de France victories.
Yeah, I actually did 9. We won 8 of the 9.
So won 8 of 9, which is unheard of in Tour de France. 40 plus Olympic gold medalist. He has coached musicians, celebrities, Fortune 500 CEOs, anybody that is just doing big things. They have big goals, and the risk for them is getting in their own way, blowing themselves up, and not having clarity on how to move forward. Jeff is their corner man. So Jeff, I'd love for you to give your introduction, share a little bit about your background, and then we will go into this presentation that I've gotten a few times now that it just changes the way you think about everything. So Jeff, go ahead and do the intro thing.
Well, when I was 7, I thought it'd be cool to be an Olympian. That's kind of like all I thought about. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just had this passion for it, and I studied everything I could find about it. And then when I was actually 10, I showed this really precocious ability on a bicycle, and I realized, well, maybe that's how I'm going to do it. And I was fortunate enough to have found a coach that was a 3-time Olympian, 5-time national champion that became my cycling coach, one of the best of all time. And what was unique is that he taught me how to win. He said, you need to learn how to win first, and then you can become a great athlete second. And that's what I did. So I dedicated 10 years to my life of the vigorous commitment that it took to do everything that had to go right to get there. And when I was 21, I did become an Olympian. So I fulfilled that first bucket list item. One of the most profound experiences in my entire life that influences basically everything that I do, because my DNA is calibrated towards one color and one color only, which is gold. I'm not interested in silver or bronze. I just can't mentally go there. It just isn't in my DNA. And I've been very curious about the nature of those people that can and do versus those people that can and don't. And I was fortunate enough because of my experience as an Olympian, and I also got my master's degree in sports science while I was training for and competing in the Olympics. So I had those two assets that athletes came to me that wanted to win gold medals, and business people that wanted to become their own champions. And I helped both those populations. And what was interesting is that the athletes wanted to know how to extend their careers by not getting injured. And the business people didn't want to become like their counterparts, where they blew themselves up and they died of heart attacks at 40 and strokes and catastrophic relationship failures. So I saw that there was a need there, and I went back to school and got my chiropractic licensure to be a primary health care provider, specialized in acute trauma for the athletes and in wellness care for the business people. And with those kind of 3 prongs of that stool, I found my way advising some of the most prolific people of our era in terms of their performance. I worked with Lance at all of his tour victories. There were several other tour victories. I worked with Olympians winning gold medals. I worked with Tiger Woods, been at Richard Branson's island with him, and the list goes on and on and on. And what's important about that is that I discovered that playing big is not an accident. It's the very deliberate outcome of specific actions that are consistently applied. And a really big part of that is like mindset. And what I came to discover is that mindset is a very, I think, misunderstood word. I think that its application doesn't allow us to be able to perform at our best and stay there continuously to create the highest life of personal value and contribution. And I cracked the code on that. And I really feel that to understand the champion's mindset versus the mindset that we're born with is a critical step in our preparation to become a prolific goal achiever. So that's the process for then and how I got to where I am right now.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're gonna talk about we're gonna deep dive a little bit into the mindset stuff. And again, I mentioned it before, but it's really about not blowing yourself up. So there's this idea that if I do more, if I work harder, if I just plow through everything, yada yada yada. But what and what the prolific achievers know is the biggest risk. It's not really effort. They've figured that part out. If they're striving for things that are as big as they're striving for, it's the one mistake that takes us out of the game, as you always say. And it happens all the time. And the question's why, right? Like why does this happen? Why is there not a roadmap? Why is there not a blueprint? And what has become apparent, like especially working with you and looking at your stuff, is that our brain naturally is wired in a way for us to get in our own way, to think thoughts that take us out of the game, from a place of fear and a place of scarcity and a place of comparing to others and all these other things that we do. And you just came to my office one time and gave me that little index card, which we're going to share, I think, shortly. And I look at it every time there's, imposter syndrome, fear, doubt, confusion. It's just a quick glance and I kind of identify, oh, that's how I'm thinking about it. And this is how I need to be thinking about it. Because again, I want to be calibrated for gold as well. So what I'm going to do is, for everybody's benefit that watches this, is I'm going to change the view here. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to give you the platform here to walk us through this brilliant presentation. I think it's going to change the way a lot of people think. And I hope if you're watching, you choose to take Jeff up on the offer, which is going to be to get your own copy and maybe have an opportunity to speak to him at a higher level.
Well, thanks, Nick. I'd like to do this by PowerPoint, so let's get started. One of the most important things in terms of becoming a prolific achiever, and I'm going to actually share this with you through a story. I was sitting on my back porch and I got this email, and in the subject line it said, "Can you help?" And I knew who it was from, so I opened it up and it said, "I'm currently working with the athlete favored to win the gold medal in the Olympics in the long jump. And he's currently leading the world championship, but he's starting to mentally unravel. Can you help?" And so I thought to myself, okay, so we have this athlete here who's favored to win the gold medal. The evidence is that he's currently leading the world championship, and it's 2.5 weeks before the Olympic final. And he's starting to mentally unravel here. Like, what's going on? He's got the best coach. He's got the best equipment. He's got the best of everything. He spent a couple of decades to get here, and now he's starting to mentally unravel. What's going on? And I made arrangements to talk with the athlete. Then that afternoon, we were Skyping. I was in LA and he was in London. And after this 2-hour purge, I said to him, well, this is actually pretty simple, is that your mind and your body are now disconnected. And we just need to reconnect your mind to your body, and you're going to win the gold medal. But I said, this may be the most difficult thing that you'll ever do in your life, and it will require every ounce of courage that you've got. Again, perhaps if there's ever a time to apply courage, it's going to be now. So there's something fundamental that you need to know to understand this, to get yourself back in the game, to be able to win the gold medal. And that's where I began with this chart here, where I was sharing with him verbally. I said, the first thing you need to understand about your human nature is that our human nature has two mentalities that are working simultaneously, side by side, 24 hours a day, from the time our eyes open until the time our eyes shut at night, every day of our lives. And the first mentality is, what I call the human mindset. And then the second mentality is the champion's mindset. And what you'll notice here is that we have the word human, and the word human is interesting because what that connotates is that it's something that we all share by virtue of the fact that we're part of the human species. It's just kind of the way that it is. It's part of the hard wiring, and there's nothing we can do about it. The second word being mindset, meaning mind, something that reacts to stimulation, to phenomena. And you notice the word mindset. So this is mind, and this is a mind that's set, which is correct. It's set. It's not modifiable. Whatever it is, and it cannot be changed. So our human mindset is something that we all have, that we didn't ask for, that's hardwired into our biology, and it's fixed. And on the other side of the aisle here, we have what's called the champion's mind. And when we talk about champion, we're talking about somebody that knows something about life and themselves that most others don't, that allows them to be a prolific achiever in being able to consistently and predictably and repeatedly achieve the most important goals in their lives. And that's done with the champion's mind. So it's not really a champion's mindset that's fixed. It's actually part of our being that has the capacity as kind of a three-dimensional entity to consciously look at things and make conscious, deliberate decisions. And these two mentalities, they're at war with each other 24 hours a day for control over our decision making. And how do we experience that? We have this kind of turbulence just by virtue of the fact that we're human. You know, there's always a kind of a restlessness that we have, like I call it the restless soul syndrome, where we just kind of feel really uneasy. You know, there are moments of tranquility. I get that, but usually those are few and far between. You know, most of our life is being pulled between should I or shouldn't I? And that kind of reflects this conflict that we all feel. And so what I told Greg Rutherford, the athlete that I was having this conversation with, I said that you absolutely 100% need to understand the human mindset versus the champion's mindset, Greg. So let me tell you a little bit more, Greg, about the human mindset. The human mindset is our default beliefs. Default meaning that they come naturally to us and we don't even need to think about it. They're just kind of like they're part of what we're born with. And beliefs are ways of thinking that seems right to us that we take action on. So these are our default beliefs. But the thing that we need to be mindful of here is that the default beliefs that we have are calibrated towards one thing, and that one thing is survival. It's only about survival. It doesn't care about greatness. It doesn't care about gold medals. It doesn't care about achievement. It doesn't care about aspirational things. It could care less. It only cares about one thing, which is survival. And because it's about survival, which is our most primary instinct and our biologic necessity, is that it has to be high speed, because there are certain things where we can be in harm's way that demand a response that's faster than we can think. You may have found yourself in an intersection driving a car where all of a sudden you turn left with turning faster than you could think, but that was to avoid a car that ran a red light, but yet it seems so purposeful. It didn't seem like it was an accident. Well, then that's your human mindset antenna being aware of things faster than we can see them with our eyes and knowing what to do. And so in this instance, our default beliefs and our survival really gets first dibs at every moment of our life because it's survival directed. And there's a couple of examples of that. So let's say that, have you ever thought of something that you were going to say to somebody and it actually happened and occurred to you faster than you could think, and then you delivered it and it seems so right that what you say would be so effective, but then when you said it, it's like, uh-oh, that was a really bad idea. I don't know why I said that. I can't really take it back, and it may have damaged the relationship like permanently. Well, that's kind of an example because it seemed deliberate, it seemed purposeful, but it went so wrong. But it was only geared towards survival. And a lot of the responses that we do have in relationship to people really are defensive reactions to certain things. And so another example, you may slip on the ice and fall, but your hand may know where to put it to break the fall. Well, again, physically, your hand knew where to go faster than you could think. So we can actually see in kind of two different dimensions the application and the evidence for this high-speed default survival response. And I said to Greg, well, Greg, the reason why this is a problem for you in winning your gold medal is that it can only repeat history. You can't make it. And for you to be able to win the gold medal, you have to make history, not repeat it. And I said, but the good news is that we have the champion's mind, which is our applied wisdom, meaning that we have to apply it. We have to take what we know that history has proven to be true to deliver on what needs to happen in advance. So when we apply it, it's as good as done. We have to apply it. And our applied wisdom, which is our champion's mind, is calibrated towards excellence. And that's the only way that you can get there. So the challenge with that is that since it's excellent, derived, and driven, it doesn't get first dibs because it's not survival. It's deliberate, it's intentional, it's consciously applied. And because of that, it doesn't get first dibs like our human mindset does, those survival instincts and impulses that we have. But the good news is that it does have the final say. And as long as we're applying the champion mindset through application of historic wisdom, then what that does, that kind of pushes the human mindset into the background, much like a computer would do. If you open up a program that sits in front of one of the programs, you want to stop the human mindset program into the background. And when we come from this place, the champion's mind, because it has final say, that's how we make history. And that's the challenge that you're facing, Greg. And that's the reason why you feel so uncomfortable right now, because you're being torn between these two different mentalities. And I said, Greg, let me share you some examples of how this is operating in your life right now. And so for you and me here discussing this chart, one thing I'd like to share with you is that the left side, the human mindset, these are our natural survival impulses. And then on the right side that I'll be sharing with you here, these are our supernatural wisdom responses. So the natural way of responding to life, the human mindset, that's easy because it's free. We don't have to do anything because it's hardwired into us. But if we're going to choose the champion's mind, that takes us from a natural being to becoming supernatural in our responses. So I said, Greg, let's say that you're given an opportunity. This is the way that the human mindset would look at it. What do I stand to lose? It's defensive, it's cold, it doesn't want to share, it doesn't really trust in itself, it's not really looking towards a bigger future, there's really no oxygen in the lungs, highly defensive. And Greg, the champions don't think like that. You know what the champions do, given an opportunity, they say, what is it that I stand to gain? It's proactive, it's assertive, it's aspirational, it's inspirational, it has high impact. There's a lot of oxygen in the room. This is where people support each other to be able to achieve their greatest achievements possible, because everybody believes that there's enough slices of the pie to go around for everybody to prosper. I said, Greg, you're not there. Champion mindset, also given an accountability. Well, I'm doing my best. Hey, Greg, champions don't think like that. When you say you're doing your best, you're already deciding in advance what the outcome is going to be without even challenging yourself against the reality, which may be an opportunity to showcase your greatness. You've already decided in advance what it is. You've already set a low bar for yourself. I said, champions don't do that. You know, champions, given an accountability, they'll find a way. I mean, it's never over till it's over. I mean, why is it that we're given creativity? Why are we given ingenuity? Why are we given curiosity? We're given those attributes that are hardwired into us to be able to find a way to make it happen. And that's what the champions do. So Greg, a lot of people believe that it's in their genes. You're kind of doing that yourself. You're thinking that this is a predestination, the outcome of the Olympics in 2.5 weeks. That's what you're thinking. That's garbage. You know, what we know is that the genes express according to the environment that they're placed in. And your thinking is going to go a long way to changing how you think about what the outcome can be. So it's not about your genes, Greg. It's really in your power. I mean, why do you think you're given a mind, body, and a brain and a spirit? The reason why you're given that is to be able to decide what goals are important to you and to develop the conviction to pursue and achieve them. This is in your power. Here's what else you need to know, Greg, is that I know you wish you were like others right now. You want to go dive into the nearest wood chipper just to get it over with because you're so uncomfortable. You're in such conflict. You're in such torment right now. I understand that. But you have to be clear on one thing here, is that if you decide to go hide in the sea of all alike, where you're just another drop in the sea of ocean of humanity, then you're giving up your greatest asset, which is you. And there's only one of you in all of creation. And you're honor bound here on this earth to cultivate and grow those and demonstrate those for people, because that's how you say thank you to your parents. That's how you say thank you to your friends. That's how you say thank you to your teammates. That's how you say thank you to your benefactors. That's how you say thank you to your mentors that gave you everything they have without expectation of anything in return. That's why you do this. And because and when you do this, perhaps most importantly, is that it shows other people what's possible. And if there's ever time in human history where we need examples of courage, hope, and sanity, it's now. And you have an opportunity, Greg, to be able to do that. So rather than wishing you were like others, let's believe that you're your greatest asset, because that's what every champion does. Will and talent are enough. You've been told that your entire life, Greg. Will and talent are something, but I think we all scratch our head in bewilderment why some people with will and talent can't deliver on the promise. Like my dad. My dad was an artistic genius, but yet died homeless on the streets of New York City. You know, how do you do the math on that? He had plenty of will and talent, but it didn't save him. And it's not going to save you either, Greg. I said, Greg, what champions do, they know that discipline and readiness rule. Discipline, like you show up for duty, you do the preparation, you do the homework, so the test is easy. That's what champions do, because then you know you're prepared to win. You only execute that which has to go right. Presto, instant gold medal. So it's the state of readiness that comes from discipline that's basically everything. And you got to get back to that. And you got 2.5 weeks to do this because it's still salvageable. You can do this. I said, Greg, in the human mindset, our fear-based survival impulse is we have this idea that we have to be perfect to win. And this is the big problem here with you and your team, because there's a lot riding on this. A lot of people have a lot invested in your winning, and you too, by the way. And so what's happening, you're making this almost too important. And because of that, you guys think that the way you're going to win is to be perfect. And the way you're going to be perfect is to identify every possible detail and have a contingency for it so it doesn't stall your performance. But kind of here's the irony of this, is that your mind is always going to make up another detail that you can't find, that you're going to put 100% of your belief and trust in that it will win the gold medal for you. And if you don't find it, you won't win. So if that's the case, and you believe that mythology, like all this other mythology we've been talking about, well, don't plan on winning the gold medal and just be prepared to see the headlines in the newspaper that you're going to have to face for the rest of your life. Rutherford fails to deliver on the gold medal. The guy that could, that didn't. I mean, how does that sound? Yeah, well, not so good. I have to agree with you. So rather than chase perfection, let's do what the champions know. It's the one or two things that count. As long as you, between now and 2.5 weeks for the Olympic final, you do the two things that count consistently, then you're going to win the gold medal. And in this case, thing number one is to not start changing your warm-up, because you're changing your warm-up and your body's now confused and it doesn't know what to do. So it's run in the cave and roll the rock over the opening. Doesn't want to come out and play because it's scared. Just go back to the warm-up that you're used to. That will make your body feel safe. It will win for you. Point number two, first 4 steps of your run-up will make your foot hit the board, the correct location to get the lift to win. Don't hyper focus on the board. You hyper focus on it, you're going to miss it every time. It's the speed of the first 4 steps. Those 2 things, you win. So here's what else you need to know, Greg. Perhaps most important of all is it, I know you're afraid right now because there's a lot at stake here. And in the human mindset, that default belief, I'm afraid, so I won't even try because I've already decided what the outcome is. You don't know what the outcome is. You have no idea. So here's what you need to know about fear. Is that fear is a sign of biologic readiness. Your pupils better be dilated. Your heart rate better be racing. Your hands better be clammy. There better be sweat on your forehead. You better be nervous because that's a requirement to put in the ultimate physical performance. And that's how gold medals are won. The myth here also is that people that have conquered fear because they have none in their life, the truth is that they haven't conquered fear at all because they're living life too much in the safe zone. So in your case here, Greg, you have to trust your preparation and show up and let your preparation win the gold medal for you. And you need to get away from this mantra of whining, because every time you whine, people disbelieve you. They trust you just a little bit less as you do yourself. So it's time to get away from the whining mantra and get back to what you know that got you here is to I win. So you got a choice here, Greg, that you got to make like right now. And let me kind of explain what the options are. You can either engage this through the human mindset, and at the very best, you'll be a one-act wonder. And that may be, oh, he was the guy that was leading the world championship and failed to win the gold medal when he was favored to. That's what you'll be known for. You know, not so good. And people that live life through the human mindset, they're generally incredibly impulsive because they have no trust in themselves. They want to try to do everything to make sure that they've covered all the bases to be ready to make it happen. And that impulsiveness and desperation then leads to incredible frustration because no progress can be gained in confidence and in evidence of capability to win a gold medal if we're coming from impulsivity. And at the end of the day, those people that do that, their tagline is mediocrity. But the good news on the other side of this is that we have the champion's mind. The rule is to become a repeat winner. Repeat winner. Why? Because they're courageous. Having the champion's mindset gives you courage, which is defined as the ability to take action despite your survival impulses. Your survival impulses are going to be your first choice on everything because they will naturally arise and occur to you. And to have the courage to turn your back on them and apply the champion's mindset is what will win you the gold medal. And if there's ever a time in your life where you need to apply courage, it's now, and this may take every ounce of courage you've got to do this because of the implications of what this gold medal has on your future life. Coming from the champion's mindset, you're also composed because you're not trying to chase everything in an attempt to be perfect across the board. You're looking at the things that have to go right. And when we do that, we know what they are, then our anxiety drops. And as a result of that, we become exceptional in our abilities to perform. So what's it going to be, Greg? You're going to go with the human mindset, or you're going to swap over and follow the champion's mind over the next 2.5 weeks? What's it going to be? You can't go home and think about it, because if you do, it doesn't mean that you trust yourself enough to make that choice. He said, I really have no choice. So I'm going to go with the champion's mind. So I congratulated him on that. And we employed the champion's mind for the next 2.5 weeks. And at the end of the Olympic final, Olympic champion. And should we be surprised? Not really, because we know that the way the champion's mind works is that it sets us up for success. That's what it's all about. And what Greg did, he went on to win the Commonwealth Games Championship. He won the World Championship. He went on to win the Olympic gold. He won virtually everything that there was to win. And how did he do it? He did it because he had the champion's mind anchor that told him what he had to do to make sure that he executed that which has to go right when it had to go right. And that's how Greg won the gold medal. And that's the importance of understanding the human mindset versus the champion's mind, because each and every one of us is confronted with the very same challenges day in and day out. And that's how the champions do it. Nic, I'll come back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. There's
done.
There's so many tools in there that I use when I'm talking to people. When you mentioned, specifically when you mentioned only one or two things need to go right. And, you always find the next detail. And I always used to say, there's certain people, right? And they find a problem for every solution.
Oh, totally.
So there's that, and we've talked about this before, and I think we're going to build a lot of stuff that framework it's a general framework for human versus champion, mindset versus mind. But there's actually super specific scenarios that you are well aware of and help people through to say, hey,
yeah,
in a sales conversation, right, your human mindset's going to say this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you're preparing for a gold medal, when you want to bring something up to your spouse, like a difficult conversation, your human mindset's going to say this. And so over the next couple months, hopefully we'll be able to build those trainings and deliverables. So super excited about that. I know, again, I have the card.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little index, business card size, that chart, that graphic.
Yeah. Yeah, we should, we should actually make that available to everybody.
Yeah.
Can we do that? What I suggest that we do then, why don't we just, click a button below and gain them access to then getting a PDF of that.
Yep. So I'll put a button. If you're seeing this, there should be a button below it.
Be great.
Strongly suggest you print it out and just plop it on, one in your office, one at home. And just when you hit that paralysis analysis or you start overthinking things, powerful tool. Like I said, I have one in my wallet.
One of the most important things, actually, people talk about morning rituals. I found that one of the most important things that we can do in terms of setting the tone for our day is to look at that chart every day consciously and consciously decide which mindset are we going to come from, and also look at, the vulnerabilities that we may have. Each of us generally have a inclination and a vulnerability to a couple of the human mindset items there, and then look at the champion's mind, counteraction that has to take place to override it and stuff it into the background. I found that that's a very, very constructive way to do this. And the other thing too is to share with family, with kids as well. It's never too early to start showing people that there is a inherent conflict that we have just by virtue of the fact that we're human. And it's not just us. I mean, so many people think, oh, it's just me. I'm thinking crazy. There's something wrong with me. I can't really do this. But I mean, quite honestly, even like working with you too, even before they go on stage for a world tour concert, I mean, there are issues that you would think, well, they're beyond this. Well, no, they're not. We all have this and we're all subject to this, and we need something that keeps that in check so that when we have the opportunity, we convert that into a personal success, rather than a seventh failed attempt. So I just feel really strongly that if we use this as a morning, I'm not going to say ritual, because then it sounds like if we look at it, then we remember it. No, it has to be a conscious reminder of it by deliberately looking at it and making a conscious decision to implement it throughout the day.
Yeah, you said two things there that kind of triggered some thoughts here. The first is, you said one of the morning non-rituals, one of the things to do in the morning. And you have helped me personally really dial in my schedule.
Mhm.
and it's made a massive difference. And I only think of that because one of the things I used to do is wake up in the morning and spend, 45 minutes, an hour trying to figure out what I wanted to do that day.
Mhm.
So we have the Champions Daily Schedule, which is a phenomenal framework that you've helped me. It's like I'm on rocket fuel every day now. Um, and the other thing is, we feel like, man, it's just us,
Yeah,
like something's wrong with
completely.
me.
Yeah.
And you built another tool. I'm just teasing out kind of what's coming in the future for everybody watching, called the Life Lens Progression.
Mhm.
And what that did for me personally is say, is there something wrong? Because my friends are here, and I know people that are here, and I have business partners. Jeff Moore is a friend of ours, and he's
Mhm.
different decade than I am, right? But so these are his priorities. Why aren't my priorities the same? And just all these things. What's wrong with me? And the Life Lens Progression, which we'll break down in a later video, it's just one of those tools where, oh, everybody from age 30 to 40
Mhm.
is going through this same thing,
Mhm.
and just validating that I'm where
Mhm.
I'm supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, so we'll talk about that. If you do click the button below and you get the um, PDF, you will also get notified of future trainings. Not going to spam you. Not going to send you a bunch of emails. Not going to put you in email sequence. We're just going to say, hey, we're talking about this. Some of them we'll do live and do some Q&A. Some of them we'll share deliverables. Sometimes Jeff and I will just talk and record it and let you watch a replay. So if you opt in below, you'll get all of those. And the next thing, again, this is my favorite thing to do, is share the people that I work with, the people that I trust, the people that I partner with. I encourage you to get into, outside of just through me, I encourage you to get into Dr. Jeff Spencer's world. There's a beautiful PDF at beforeyouwin.com, the goal achievement roadmap. So me and my team, we paid Jeff to walk our team through his goal achievement roadmap, paid a lot of money for it. It was worth every penny, and I would do it over and over again. And we actually have permission to sell you the replays plus the Q&A and everything. It's really, really powerful. And that's at GAR Masterclass, GAR Masterclass.com. I implore you to go there. You can use promo code champion, all caps, for a little bit of a discount. But most importantly, if you are at a crossroads, and I'll let Jeff kind of tell us who's a good fit, who's not. But if you're at a crossroads, um, I find the biggest risk is either blowing yourself up or staying stuck at a crossroads for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. Because if you are a mover, if you're a shaker, if you are an Olympic athlete or a Fortune 500 CEO or a startup, staying in the same place for too long because of lack of clarity, that's pretty costly. I mean, that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of
Mhm.
dollars. So if you go to drjeffspencer.com, I believe is where they can just fill out an application and you'll review it and
Mhm.
hop on the phone and help them navigate that.
Mhm.
Who is a good fit for that, and who is maybe somebody that should go consume some more content first while they
Mhm.
try to figure out if they're ready to have a conversation.
Mhm.
Uh, that's the so I encourage you, drjeffspencer.com. It'll just be an application, and I believe the process is, correct me if I'm wrong, you just connection call, right, just to make sure, and
Mhm.
then you do the champions roadmap, which is
Yeah, it's the first thing we do is like a connection call just to check fit. There is absolutely no agenda, just a chance to get to know and meet each other. Now, if I can give a couple of tips here and there, would love to do that. And if there's a basis for taking the next step to go a little bit deeper, I've actually created a process called the Champions Roadmap. It's a two in-depth conversation process. The first conversation just is a data collection where I compile as much information as I can get so that I completely understand the entire universe of the individual in every aspect. And then between the first call and the second call, I put my heart and soul and every ounce of my experience in the high performance world on that first conversation. And I decide, what does all this mean? Where really are you on this map of achievement and toward your bigger future and your legacy creation? And then what does it that we need to do to take you from where you are, you need to go. And I present the roadmap in a bullet point form, and you get the recording for that. And this, I take this as seriously as I would take my conversation with Greg when I helped Greg win a gold medal. And why would somebody want to do this? I mean, the value of knowing where you are is incalculable. Rather than guessing, anxiety drops. You're confident in terms of where you are and where you're headed. You have a glimpse of some of the things that you maybe should have done before that haven't hurt you so far, but can create a roadblock in the future. It allows us to peek around the corner and see what's coming so that we're ready to avoid preventable problems and seize best opportunities and create the smoothest path forward. So that's that process. And I'm passionate about that because I always think it's a good idea to have a map before you go into the jungle, because there's danger, especially in today's world where we're facing some unprecedented challenges that I think I'm particularly suited to be able to handle. So that's the Champions Roadmap, Nick.
Awesome. So if you're watching, here's what I would recommend. If pretend like Jeff's not here and you came to me and you said, hey, should I hire this guy? Should I get on a call? Should I buy the roadmap? If you cannot afford, if you sit there and you think to yourself, I cannot afford to drop one of these balls I'm juggling. If you feel like your time, you just don't have time to lose, right? Due to uncertainty, taking the wrong step, one false step, and I'm in trouble. And if the stakes are high, I'll just apply. There's no question in my mind, just apply, because avoiding stepping on that landmine might be the most important, profitable, productive thing you can do. If you have a lot of time, so you don't feel like the stakes are high, and you want to lay the groundwork, jump in, listen to the podcast, go through the goal achievement roadmap, download the PDF. But I would say if you feel the stakes are too high for me to take on something else, like coaching, that's probably, to me, a signal you got to take the 15 minutes, have a phone call. drjeffspencer.com. It's pretty easy to navigate and apply there. Jeff, thank you. I think we're going to stop the recording and have a conversation, and just let everybody else know the best way to get in touch with you. Is it the lead magnet? Is it through Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, I just think, again, thanks again, Nick. It's always a pleasure. Sure, the best way to get a hold of me would be for sure to go to beforeyouwin.com. That will gain access to, first off, a PDF that's called How Not to Blow It Just Before You Win. It's got the 3 key ways that I've seen that people self-sabotage themselves this time and time and time again, just on the verge of a breakthrough. Then they trip out of the gate and they blow it for a 10th time. And so please take the time to get that PDF. And while you're waiting for that PDF to electronically show up in your inbox, you can watch the video there. That's an introduction to the Goal Achievement Roadmap itself, which is the model that I've created based on my 50 years of experience helping people perform at the gold medal level in business, sports, and entertainment. It'll give you an insight into what that process is. And again, it was derived from my experience in this place over the last 50 plus years. And as Nick said, for sure, I would rather have you schedule a call or fill out an application for us to talk, because I would just, if nothing less, just to sort of demystify where you are and give you a sense of maybe best options in terms of considerations to be able to move forward. I just want everybody to get their anxiety as low as possible, as quickly as possible, so that we can make really good choices in our life moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you. And anybody, again, you just click below. That'll get you on the list to receive any updates. Jeff and I, we're doing once a week. Not all going to be public, may not share them all, but anything that is valuable, obviously we will try to make sure that you are aware of it.